Do you think art is just about beauty? Think again. There's a painting that sent shivers down the spine of an entire nation, not because of its colors, but because of the brutal truth it dares to show. In the 17th century, the Netherlands was more than just a trading empire. It was also a place of power, betrayal, and revenge. And two men, the De Witt brothers, became victims of a brutal crime, forever etched on canvas. Why would there be a painting that shows a brutal murder? Who would want to keep that? You think art is just beauty on canvas? Think again. There's one painting in Dutch history so disturbing. It didn't hang in galleries for admiration. It hung like a warning. Not because of the colors, not because of the brushwork, but because it captured a truth so brutal it made an entire nation shudder. This is not just a painting, it's a scream frozen in oil and silence. The story begins in the 17th century, the Dutch Golden Age. A time of prosperity, science, reason, and two brothers, Johan and Cornelis de Witt. Visionaries, republicans, men who dared to dream of a nation without kings. They led with logic, with ideals. They believed power should belong to councils and citizens, not crowns. But light, when it shines too brightly, casts long shadows. And in those shadows, an enemy was waiting. Royalist supporters of Prince William III saw the brothers not as leaders, but as threats. Then came the setup. Cornelis was falsely accused of treason. No trial, no proof, just whispers in dark corners. And when Johan came to visit his brother in prison, the trap snapped shut. A mob, not spontaneous, but planted and provoked, stormed the prison. They didn't just kill the De Witt brothers. They tore them apart, literally. They gouged out eyes. They butchered the bodies. They strung them up naked, upside down in the town square of The Hague. Blood stained the cobblestones. No one intervened. No justice. No mercy. Only silence. And then came the painter, Jan de Baen. He wasn't there to glorify. He wasn't there to flatter. He painted what the world refused to look at, a canvas, two mutilated bodies dangling in eerie stillness. No crowd, no drama, just the aftermath, just the cost of speaking truth to power. That painting, grotesque, raw, haunting, didn't celebrate death. It demanded we never forget it. It wasn't art for beauty. It was art as evidence, as if the painting whispered, "This is what happens when ideals threaten the throne." But the nightmare wasn't over. August 20th, 1672. A day so drenched in betrayal, it would stain the history books forever. That morning, the De Witt brothers were still alive. Bruised, hunted, but alive. By nightfall, they were nothing but broken flesh and bone. Dragged from the prison not by soldiers, but by their own people. The very citizens they had defended. Led, believed in. Savagery doesn't always wear a crown. Sometimes it wears the face of your neighbor. In a frenzy of rage, stoked by propaganda, rumors and blind loyalty to the prince, the mob turned executioner. They didn't just kill Johan and Cornelis. They butchered them. Their bodies were ripped apart in the street, organs torn from their chests, flesh carved like trophies. And then, the unthinkable. One man, so lost in madness, reportedly ate part of their liver as if it was some twisted celebration of victory. Can you imagine that? Two of the brightest minds of their age turned into a feast of revenge, a symbol of political hate so vile it echoes through time like a warning. This was not justice, it was ritual, it was vengeance, it was the price of being too bold in a world that feared change. And in that moment, the Dutch Republic, once a beacon of enlightenment, stared into the face of its own darkness. The painting by Jan de Baen didn't flinch. It recorded it all, in silence, in stillness, in shadow and form. The mutilated brothers, hanging upside down, became more than a scene of horror. They became a question. What happens when the truth is too dangerous to live? And perhaps a warning to us all. And then the painting appeared. It wasn't hung in a palace. It wasn't made for royalty. There was no golden frame, no soft lighting, no admiring crowd. What Jan de Baen painted was pure horror. Two bodies, upside down, bloodied, swollen, butchered. No names, no dignity, no mercy. The canvas showed Johan and Cornelis the Witt, not as leaders, not as heroes, but as victims of human rage. There was no background, just blackness. A darkness that seemed to swallow the scene whole. Limbs twisted, flesh torn. A silence that screams. And this is the moment the story shifts again. Because this wasn't a painting of pride, it wasn't a celebration, it wasn't even protest, it was a mirror. Jan de Baen held up that mirror to an entire nation and whispered, "Look, look what you did." And that's why this painting is so terrifying, not just because of what it shows, but because of what it forces us to confront. How quickly fear can override reason, how crowds can become monsters, how justice can be slaughtered in the name of power. This wasn't about kings or republics anymore. It was about us, what we're capable of, when truth becomes too inconvenient, when silence is safer than courage. And de Baen? He didn't paint heroes. He painted a scar, a wound so deep, even centuries later, we still feel the sting. It wasn't painted to glorify. It was painted so we would never forget. Today, that painting hangs in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, surrounded by golden masterpieces, portraits of nobility, grand mythologies, triumphs carved in oil and light. But this one stops you cold. Not because of beauty, but because it hurts to look at. And yet, you can't turn away. It reminds us, history isn't just victories. It's also the horrors we let happen. The silence, the screams, the blood we pretended not to see. Jan de Baen didn't paint this to be admired. He painted it so we would never forget what we are capable of. When fear wins, when truth dies, when justice is torn apart by the very people it tried to protect. Not all art is beautiful. Some are born to wound, to scream, to challenge the soul of an era. So now I ask you, if you were the artist, would you dare to paint a truth so raw it makes the world look away? And what do you think? Should we preserve such brutal moments in art? Is art a reflection of truth or its betrayal? Let me know in the comments. Because sometimes it's not the prettiest painting that stays with us. It's the one we wish we could unsee.